All right, guys, welcome to the second half of the podcast. Today is Sunday, May 28th, 2023. We just finished the UFC Vegas 74 preview with myself and Big Marcel. Wanted to say thanks to Marcel jumping on a short notice. Going to do a really short video here, guys. Just going over some news and fight announcements. Any questions I'll take. You guys are welcome to throw any questions out and try to answer them. But let's go to Marcel's page and we'll go through some UFC news and fight announcements for UFC Vegas 70, or excuse me, we just did the UFC Vegas 74 preview. What am I talking about? We're just going to go over some like news and fight announcements for upcoming UFC cards. That's what I meant to say. Let me pull up Marcel's page here. Again, he's a little busy right now, so he can't join me, but that's okay. Let's go through some fights, guys. So let's start with this fight. This was announced really like just a couple days ago, and we got a replacement fight. The original fight was supposed to be Benoit Saint-Denis against Vince Pichel. Pichel, I guess, had to pull with an injury or something, and now Ismael Bonfim is going to replace him at short notice. Man, I think this is a much harder fight for Benoit Saint-Denis. The guy's pretty good, right? But now he's fighting it seems like an absolute killer in Ismael Bonfim. Just had an amazing debut, obviously, against T-Rex, destroyed him in that fight. Man, I'm surprised that this guy wasn't able to, get a full camp for his next fight because he looks so good, but I guess UFC said just stay ready and we'll get you a fight when you can. I mean, the schedule is so busy these days that they can't even get these guys fights, I guess. I don't know. But either way, I mean, even with a shorter camp, I would favor him to win this fight, guys. Like, Saint-Denis is good. Very tough dude. Maybe the durability here is just going to be enough. You'll be able to survive this onslaught and come back and win. But I don't know. I would favor Ismael Bonfim. Get some comments here. Antoine says, yo, what's up, Adam? Hope you're having a good day, man. Thanks, sir. That's a fire matchup. Very hello. I agree, and my day's going pretty good, man. I appreciate that. Thanks, brother. Sales are awful at UFC London. Any fights room to be added to sell tickets? I haven't heard anything, Glenn. Marcel's not here right now. He can't answer that either. But he has. I think I asked him last week. He hadn't heard anything either. So I think the main event's weak, right? I'm not interested in really Marcin Tybura fighting. I don't really find his fights are entertaining. I would have been much more interested if they did an Aspinall Blades rematch because we saw what happened last year was an injury. They could have did the rematch. There's other fights they could have given him instead. I'm not a huge fan of the fight that they're doing, but it looks like the fans aren't either, right? Because no one's really buying tickets like you mentioned. Do you think Yair is a real shot to win in July? I heavily favor Volkanovski, just much more well-rounded. I mean, Yair started with the power and submission ability, but yeah, I mean, if there's a finish in the fight, Yair might be the guy who gets it, but the fight goes the distance or even late, I favor Volk. Listen, Yair's a good fighter, but Volkanovski's elite, right? So I definitely favor him. Tony Ferguson retired if he loses to Bob Green. He's lost 5 straight fights. If he loses 6 straight, there's no way the UFC is going to keep him around. I actually think that's a tricky fight too for him. I don't think it's an easy fight at all. It's more winnable maybe than some of the other ones, but still, even Nate Diaz smashed this guy. So he, to me, is on a huge decline, guys. I think we can all agree on that. Does Alex Pereira retire if he gets knocked out by Jan? I don't think so. I don't think he's got 4 fights in the UFC. He's already a champion. I don't think he retires. That'd be crazy. He is an older guy. He's in his mid-30s, but I don't think that happens. According to Benoit, he's first down by Nurella Aliyev. I did hear that too. I don't know why Aliyev turned him down. I guess, he looks at him as a very dangerous guy, I guess. I mean, he is dangerous. He's durable as hell. So Benoit's a good fighter, but at the same time, that was a fight you could have won. And then for Benoit, I feel like the fight with Pichel was a fight he could have won. Now you're getting Bonfim. It's just weird, the way they've done this. But in the end, Bonfim probably is going to end up being favored. All right, let's go to some other fights here, guys. Tajiri Limbach up against Jake Hadley. Interesting fight. I mean, Jake's looked great. He's looked pretty great lately. Dangerous as hell. This fight's in Nashville. You got an English guy and a Russian guy, and they're putting him in Nashville. Interesting. Yeah, Jake's looked really good. Obviously, Wei Kong and dangerous everywhere. And then Tajiri, good wrestler. Kind of more of a guy that's position over submission attempts, which is not the most exciting watch, but he's definitely effective with what he does. So Tajiri's definitely got a chance to out wrestle Jake here and win decision. But Jake is so dangerous, man. I don't know. It's weird. It could look like that Ali Nascimento fight a little bit where he just gets, basically controlled by a superior wrestler. But, he's a guy that's able to sweep people. He could get you in a submission attempt from the bottom of a triangle or something. So I don't know. I think Hadley might be maybe favored. I don't know. I think the odds will be pretty competitive for this fight, if I had to guess. A couple of comments here. Benoit as an underdog worth taking him, in my opinion. How good is Bonfim anti-wrestling? We'll find out, I guess. I don't think the odds are out, but yeah, I would imagine that Bonfim would be favored in that fight, like I said. Although, if I'm not mistaken, like the McKinney fight was like, wasn't it like a pick'em almost? Like maybe slightly towards Bonfim. He was a man. I obviously like Terrence a lot too, but like Bonfim was a really good pick in that fight. Do you think Korean Zombie will be UFC Hall of Famer? Absolutely, absolutely, I do. I don't know if he's going to go in like for himself, but some of the fights he had, like the Leonard Garcia fights in WEC, and then in the UFC, he had that crazy knockover Mark Hominick in Toronto, which was 7 seconds, I believe. That was insane. I was there for that. Completely sparked him. Obviously, had that crazy fight with Yair Rodriguez, which I don't know if they're going to put that knockout in the Hall of Fame or the fight. I don't think it's in the Hall of Fame, but I could easily see that being a Hall of Fame fight one day. Man, the guy's he's kind of a great fighter, you know, a little like, you know, low key, because he's fought nothing but like studs his entire career, but the record, you know, not great overall. For he's 7-4 in the UFC. I mean, it's not the greatest record, but the fights are beyond exciting. I mean, you look at how many bonuses he's won. He's got 8 bonuses, right? So like that's in the UFC. Plus, he had the WEC fights, like I was mentioning. So I think that Korean Zombie will go in, but it'll be for his fights. It won't be like himself, if that makes sense, Antoine. Couple comments here. Him being, yeah, I don't mean, maybe they need to like have a WEC wing or something. I don't know. This fight's 50-50 for me. Yeah, Joe, it's a close one. Mike Conway's momentum aside on a vengeance path. Yeah, Makhachev, I mean, that's the other thing. Makhachev came out and said that Kopp turned, I don't know if you saw that crazy pot, though. Apparently Kopp turned on Makhachev. I don't really get that. I mean, Kopp, well, I get it. I mean, Makhachev's really good. He's low ranked and he's dangerous. I get that. But like, Kopp just lost his fight at 290 against Davis and Figueiredo. So like, I guess they offered him Makhachev, and he said no to that too. So like, I think he's off the card now, right? Kopp's not on that card anymore. They replaced that fight with that Jimmy Crute and Alonzo Menifield rematch. That took the place on the preliminary card, on the televised one. So he might just have to keep waiting, I guess, for Figueiredo to make up his mind about weight class. But like, if Kopp's as good as he thinks he is, why didn't he take that fight? I don't know. And Kopp's the one going on Twitter saying that like Figueiredo's being like, you know, a wimp and stuff, and you know, running from him and stuff like that. But like, it looks like he's kind of running from Makhachev. But again, I get it, because Makhachev's so dangerous. But I also feel like Makhachev's shown some weaknesses in this fight, guys. Like those fights with like Filo, I think it was tied, right? He could have lost the decision if he didn't submit him. He's shown some weakness, so I think he's beatable. But he hasn't lost yet. Tony Ferguson, if I will get him into the Hall of Fame. Maybe the Landon Venata fight. That fight was amazing at the time. I don't think it'd be the Hall of Fame fight, but possibly. I mean, Tony, he was on pace, man, at one point, but just the losses now mounting up, and I'm looking at his record. Like, is there? He's had so many great performances, but I don't think he had like one of those like wars that like are remembered forever. You know, I don't think so. He's had some really good fights. Don't get me wrong, like the Cowboy fight, Pettis, Kevin Lee. Like, these are great fights. Already, like, he was winning bonuses for fighting all the time, but like at the same time, like if you look at like fight of the year and stuff, like I don't think he ever won like that. You know, so they'll hopefully find a way to get him in at some point. But at the same time, though, crazy pop, like not every fighter can go in the Hall of Fame, right? So like even some of these really good fighters, like a Tony Ferguson, might end up coming short, even if it's just a fight wing thing. The Ferguson and Barboza fight was great too, but is it really a Hall of Fame fight? I don't think so. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't watched it in a while, but it was a good fight at the time. I just don't look at people. I haven't heard anyone say like, man, that's one of the greatest fights of all time. It's not like it's Shogun and Dan Henderson or Jones and Gus. And I understand you can't like hold every fight to that standard, but like if you look at how many fights are in the Hall of Fame right now, it's like less than 10, right? So there's way more other fights that they're going to put in before that one. I'll just say that. Why don't they book Royale and Kopp? I completely agree with this. I listened to Brandon Royval. He talked to MMA Junkie Radio the other day, and they asked him, like, you're the backup, and would you prefer to have a fight? And he just said, like, no, this is better for me. I can just focus on training, and I get a guaranteed check for making the weight. And, you know, if someone pulls out of that fight, I'm getting the title shot. I get it, but if I was Royval, like, if you're that confident you're going to be a champ one day, why not take another fight anyways? Like, and you get paid your win money. You could potentially make a $50K bonus as well. And again, he's really good. I get what he's saying, but like, it's also kind of dangerous, man. When you just delay things, right? Like, because there's no guarantee, like he could get injured, he could potentially get injured. The fight could go to a razor thin split decision where there's controversy, and then they could rebook it, and then he has to wait more. There could be a DQ, there could be different things where that fight has to be run back between Moreno and Pantoja, and that's the third fight between them, right? So if Pantoja wins, like maybe he'll do the trilogy fight. They had one fight in tough, so I don't know if that would count towards that whole trilogy quadrilogy thing, but that's all I'm saying. So like it's always risky when you're like putting things off. I don't really blame Royval because he says he's getting the title shot. He's like, I just want to get my title shot. But if I was him, I'm completely with you. I would have taken a fight instead. And Kopp is off that card, I think now. I don't think he has an opponent, right? So do you consider interim champs real champs? Like, is it still UFC gold? No, I don't think so. I think it's different. I mean, they're still champions, but there's definitely a difference between being an interim champion and undisputed champion. There's no doubt. I mean, that's why you do an undisputed fight, right? So what do you think of the whole backup thing? I don't hate it, but I just think like I don't understand why he's so happy about being a backup. It's kind of weird. Like he almost feels like he's won like a prize. Like I really like Royval. I'm just saying, like I watched the interview. He was like really excited about being the backup. I'm just confused a little bit. Like being a backup is something that how often do they even step in and fight? Like it's really never happened since they started doing it, right? Like remember Luque was supposed to fight. He ended up missing weight for his when he was backup. I know Volkov was a backup once for the heavyweight fight. A few other guys like Colby was a backup. Was it a couple months ago, right? So they don't really step in and fight. The only time we've ever really needed backup was Joe Soto, but he was already on the card against Burchak, I think, and then he filled against TJ Dillashaw. It's very rare that they end up even needing the backup fighter, right? So it's risky, man. I don't think it's I don't think it's like something to be celebrated personally. That's just my opinion on that. I think backup thing it's not a bad thing. You get like a check to make weight, but you probably don't fight. So Hadley's going to smoke Umbekov. I kind of agree with you on this. I don't know if he'll smoke him necessarily, but like I do think he'll probably win the fight. Yeah, Ferguson Pez was a good fight. Fighters Only Magazine, fair enough. It was a really good fight, right? But again, like I don't know, man. Like when like if you ask people like the greatest fights of all time, I don't think people are going to put that on their list. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jorge should be in the Hall of Fame. In my opinion, I don't think anyone beats 5 seconds. That's what I'm saying. I talked about this recently, Antoine. Like we have the Hall of Fame fight wing, but like we need a Hall of Fame wing for the knockouts. Like we need like Terry Adam and Barboza. That's got to be in the Hall of Fame. This is one of the greatest moments of all time, right? Like a moments. Don't call it knockouts. Greatest moments, like submissions, knockouts, like stuff like that. That should be its own wing, if anything, because they started the whole fight wing. You might as well just make it a wing with knockouts submissions. The other thing I'll say is about the Hall of Fame is like the people that are in just for their fights, are they considered Hall of Famers? It's kind of a muddy, like, blurry picture, I guess, because like I'll give you an example, like Frank Trigg and Matt Hughes, great fight, amazing fights in the Hall of Fame, but like is Frank Trigg a Hall of Famer on his own merit? I don't know. I mean, Matt Hughes is obviously, but is Frank? I don't know. But technically, I think he is because his fight's in there, right? So it's something to keep in mind about that. I feel like when interim champs are on the night, you beat another higher rank contender and plays a champ. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know, Antoine. I mean, you get a belt and stuff, but I've never considered it like a legitimate. I consider a champion if like the actual champ's out for like years and years, and it's happened before. But like in general, like I think the undisputed belt is more like legit champion. Like the interim thing, like I don't even think they count as like title defense, right? When John beat Joyce beat the interim, I think everyone saw. Yeah, exactly. I agree with that too. Certain instances backup makes sense. Yes, Glover did be the back. He was the backup for that one. Pantoja for sure. It's good to have the backup because just in case like someone gets injured for a title fight, you have to have someone to step in. I get that, but like I don't think it should be something that people are like aspiring to be, like a backup fighter. I really like Royval. I'm just surprised like how willing he's going to do this instead of being like, hey, give me a fight on that card instead. Like that's what I would be doing if I was him. Try to get 2 checks and you try to get your 50K bonus. I think Royval wins a bonus almost every fight. Like you could be leaving me in the bone, so to say. Thoughts on Rampage not being included in the Hall of Fame? He should be in the Hall of Fame. Let's be honest. Rampage should be in the Hall of Fame. He had a really good career. He's extremely marketable and well known. And I mean, isn't it like the Zuffa Hall of Fame too? So like his stuff in Pride should count, right? Like towards that. So he should be in there. Zakharov is in there, right? So Rampage should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he should be. And he probably will be one day. There's a few guys that are still waiting to get in, but Rampage should be in. Who'd you pick between Fiziev and Gamrot? Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know, man. I really like Gamrot, but Fiziev's takedown defense is like elite, so I don't know. It's a tough one. All right, let's go through some other fights here. Ode Osborne taking this Asu Almabayev guy who's making his debut here. I don't know a lot about this guy, but I know he's a SAC fighter. They signed a few of them recently. He does have some good wins. I was looking at his record the other day, actually, before this fight was even signed, because I didn't know who he was. I don't watch a lot of the promotions over there in Russia and stuff, but yeah, he definitely looks pretty good. But Ode's solid fighter in the UFC experience. I do think he's beatable, so it's definitely possible he could lose this fight, but I don't know enough about the other guy yet to make a confident pick. We're just looking at some fights here, and this fight's awesome though. Luque and Dos Anjos, 5 rounds. It's been rumored for a while, but it got moved from July to August. And man, I fucking love Luque, guys. He's one of my favorites. I mean, RDA is a favorite too, but Luque is just like an ultimate badass, right? Like all his fights are so fun to watch, but like, man, I do feel like he's on a bit of a decline. And now, RDA is the older guy, but I feel like he's still got like more gas in the tank. I feel like he's gonna take him down, man. Just grind him out in the ground. Even though it's at 170, I still think RDA takes him down, beats him up. I think there's a weakness in Luque's takedown defense, personally. So I think he wins that fight. Trevin, Giles, and Gabriel Bonfim. We talked about the other Bonfim, his brother. They're fighting in Salt Lake City. Again, Gabriel should be favored here. I'm not sold on Trevin Giles. I don't think he's looked amazing in the UFC, and he does have a winning record. We'll give him that. He's got a good record, but like, I don't know, man. That's not really doing it for me. He's had some good performances, but like, I don't know. Overall, I don't know. I think Bonfim is like the real deal, personally. I think he's legit. We already talked about this fight today as well. Let me get to some other comments here. I think it's interesting to have an interim title defense. Like, those were crazy. Yeah, I mean, Barao, I think, has a few of those. Check out Barao. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a different situation, because like Cruz was injured for like a while, right? I'm pretty sure. And then Barao was the interim champ, but he was defending his belt. Like, to me, like, you're defending your interim title. Like, that should kind of count as a title defense, right? So at that point, and they don't let that happen anymore in the UFC. Like, they've kind of stopped letting that happen. It used to happen way more back in like the 2000s, 2010s. Like, Cain Velasquez was, I think, out for a while too. I think you had, I believe, an interim heavyweight title. I can't remember now, but like, I'm pretty sure, like, there was other belts going on in the meantime. Talking about bonus, I feel Yuri got robbed of performance against Teixeira, which would have put him 5 bonus in 3 fights. He should have got double bonus for that fight. That's what I'm talking about, Pato. Like, that's one of the greatest fights of all time. Like, that fight's going to be the Hall of Fame one day, 100%. Yuri and Glover's one of the greatest fights of all time. What's crazy, guys? It's like a year ago, like next week, I think, or 2 weeks from now. It's like almost a year ago. And obviously Yuri hasn't fought since then, but an epic fight. Early pick for Jamal and Yuri. It's not me, but still. It's tough to call, man. I mean, it's just tough because Yuri's been out for a while with the injury and stuff. You don't know how he's going to react from it, but he's so dangerous, dude. But Jamal Hills looks so good lately. Man, Antoine, why are you making me pick this fight, man? I can't pick it. It's too hard to pick, man. It's just like, it's so difficult to pick that one. If Yuri's healthy, I'd probably lean his way. He's just so good, but like, Jamal is great too, so like, it's a tough one. Luque is Ali begging you to see Luque a little bit of the break written all over it. From getting chinned, yeah, but I still think he's gonna get taken down a lot in that fight, personally. Whenever that walks out towards the light heavyweight, possibly, yeah. Is Yuri and Glover the greatest light heavyweight fight in MMA history or in UFC history? It's up there. I think that Dan Henderson and Shogun was light heavyweight too. And obviously Jones and Gus was too. Like, it seems like the best fights of all time are at light heavyweight. That's 3 of them right there, guys. Those actually, honestly, those are probably my 3. If you asked me to pick the 3 best fights of all time, I'd probably go Hendo, Shogun, Jones, Gus, and Glover, Yuri. I probably would. They're all in the same division. How fucking crazy is that? It's tough. I mean, the thing is, like, they're all such good fights. The other 2 didn't have a finish. This actually had a finish in the last minute. Like, that's the thing that makes it even crazier. And I believe it would have been a draw, or Yuri might have lost the belt, or a Glover. I can't remember now. It was just a crazy fight. The scorecards were interesting for them. I'll just say that, because like the last round, I think, was 10-8. You have to look at the scorecards. But yeah, it was a really interesting fight, and the way it played out. I wanted RDA, Nelson, and Luque and Renat. Well, they're doing Renats against Kevin Lee, and Renat should be a big favorite in that fight. A couple other fights here, fight announcements. I don't think we talked about this one, did we, guys? Nazim and Terrence McKinney. obviously love Terrence, but I mean, they're giving him another hard fight. You know, it seems like they're just giving him like these really hard fights. And it's a banger. It's a fun fight, but you know, he's going to be dangerous as hell for that first 5 minutes. But we know Terrence fights, guys. He just goes balls to the wall for the first 5 minutes, and he can knock you out, or if he doesn't, he probably ends up getting finished too. So love the dude, but I think I'd lean Sadikov, you know, just because I think that he'd have the more gas in the tank as the fight went on. What does time tell you Figueroa and Moreno one was the greatest fight of all time? I mean, it was a good fight, but like I don't think I wouldn't be for me, especially with the amount of fouls and I fight with the low blows and stuff. Like that kind of stuff takes away from fights for me a little bit personally. But it was a good fight, Antoine. I don't know if you're going to say it's your favorite fight. It's possible. It was a good fight. It was the whole trilogy or the quadrilogy was good, but I think Gillespie should ask for the release fight for PFL. I like his chance at 1 million. Gregor Gillespie, yeah, I mean, I think he would be one of the favorites to win their lightweight tournament. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I understand where this guy is. Like, and it seems like our friend James Lynch, obviously, he's constantly asking this guy for interviews, and he just always makes like excuses. It seems like as to not doing with them. I can't remember. Did he interview him recently? I don't even think it went through. Did it? I don't know. He keeps saying he's going to get him. It's not James. Like he'll send me the text and be like, "Hey, look, Gregor said I'm going to talk to him," and then he had to cancel or something. So I love Gregor though, man. Like he was, dude, like such a dangerous guy, looking so good, and he had that Kevin Lee knockout, but like that's it. And it was anyone get knocked out with a head kick. It's MMA. Like anyone get dropped with something. So yeah, it'd be nice to see him back in the cage. I really enjoy watching that guy fight. And obviously that win over Diego was, even looking better now after Diego starched Michael Johnson. You like Diaz McGregor too. I mean, that fight, both the fights with Diaz and McGregor are epic fights. The first one had a finish in the second round, but the rematch with the full five, both were epic fights. The second fight was like fucking a war, man, for 5 rounds at welterweight, right? Like they were just beating the shit out of each other. That fight was insane. Yeah, I mean, they're both really good fights. And that's kind of like, I think Conor, that second fight really showed to people that he's got some heart, because that first fight, that the second round, he gassed out bad and came back a couple months later and then beat Nate in a competitive fight. A couple other fights here, Said Nurmagomedov and Kyler Phillips, really fun fight. And these ones were old. So that was it for the fight announcements. Want to get through those quick. I'll take some more questions, guys. Take them in the meantime here. Again, Marcel's out of here for the day. I had to do the podcast another day today. So no podcast tomorrow, but back hopefully next Monday. That's the plan, back on June 5th, I believe it would be. Couple other questions, guys. Just throw them in there in the chat and I'll answer them. UFC 196, one of the most purchased pay-per-views of all time, especially Misha Holly. I mean, that fight was crazy too, right? Like Holly was winning the whole fight. She was coming off that win over Ronda and pretty much controlling the entire fight, and then gets taken down and gets submitted with about a couple minutes left in that last round, I think it was, right? So yeah, I mean, that was insane too. That whole card was pretty crazy now that I look back at it. It's pulling it up right now. UFC 196. Yeah, that fight was so nuts. So that finish with like again the minute left in the fifth. I was looking at the rest of the card. Actually, those are the best two fights because like I'm looking at the main card for that. Like the Latifi John Vellante fight wasn't good. Corey Anderson and Tom Lawler wasn't very good. Nunes and Shevchenko 1 wasn't the greatest fight. Just looking at the rest of the card, I mean, the best knockout on the card was that Nordine Taleb, my fellow Canadian, just brutalized Eric Silva, the former prospect. Yeah, honestly, like looking back, that card had some nice knockouts, but like in some nice fights, but like nothing like the last two, right? They were just epic, and they're like, the comebacks in both those fights are just insane. Did you take notice the momentators talk about fighters' pay being low? Got matched with Bonfim in the Black Wolf. I didn't notice that at all. Did he say that? I mean, we all know that the UFC doesn't like when they talk about fighter pay and they criticize it. I didn't even know that if that actually happened. Yeah, that's interesting to hear about that. Let's see here. A couple other comments. What's your favorite pay-per-view? I feel like the UFC pay-per-views from 30 years ago are going to sell like 1 million every time. Ooh, that's interesting. Favorite pay-per-view of all time. Oh man, let me pull up. There's a few that I really like. I'll pull up a good one here. Here's a good one. This is an older one, but I remember seeing this. I usually just watch it at home now, obviously, but like back in the day, I'd go to like sports bars and stuff a lot of the time with my friends. This is before I was a journalist, 2010. Started writing like full time in not full time, but like started writing about the sport in 2011, I should say. UFC 116, Carwin and Lesnar. This was an absolutely amazing card. You had Brock beating Shane Carwin in insane comeback. Chris Liebing against Akiyama was just a crazy fight. Chris Lyle against Matt Brown, insane submission. Stephan Bonner and Krzysztof Soczynski, just a crazy war as well. Well, I wouldn't say the Sada Roppes Pellegrino fight was anything. That's what I'm saying. Like, even these classic pay-per-views have these fights that like you forget about because they're not nothing special. But like, what was the other one here? Gerald Harris against David Branch, just an insane slam. So like that would be one of my favorites because like that main card was just absolutely epic. And then one I mentioned earlier, UFC 139, Henderson and Shogun won. Amazing fight. Wanderlei Silva and Kung Lee, amazing fight. Faber and Bowles was a really good finish. And then even on the prelims, like Michael McDonald had a crazy knockout. Remember that guy, Michael McDonald? Man, that guy was a great prospect. He just kept breaking his hands. But even that, again, you look at the undercard, some of the fights, maybe nothing special, right? But that was one of my favorites as well. And there's got to be some other ones I'm forgetting about, guys. It's just there's so many over the years. I mean, even I forgot about this one. UFC 100 is a classic too, obviously. UFC 100. You know, again, Hendel and Bisping and some of the other fights are just amazing. But like a lot of decisions on that card as well. I don't know, like hard question to answer. Honestly, I have to like look at it a little bit more closely. But those are just some that kind of came to mind for me. Get a couple of comments here. Let me close that up. Couple comments here. Talk about Renat and Lee. Yeah, we talked about last week. I want to say I think Renat will be favored pretty heavily, right? Like, why wouldn't he be? He should win the fight. Yeah, so it's good job, Adam. Must be weird talking to yourself for so long. Yeah, it's about 30 minutes now, Daniel. It's not that weird or anything like that. It's just my voice is going a little bit. But I'll stay on for a few more minutes. I used to do the podcast by myself way back in the day. For a little bit, like 4 years ago, maybe I was doing like half an hour, like 20-minute shows Monday to Friday, right? And then now it's a once a week thing, but 2 times on the same day. Just the way those shows, gone over the years. Believe Renat would be Ian Gary. Possibly. Ian Gary's really good, but Renat's also good. Gotta give the sport time to grow. It's like NBA just had 75th. Exactly. I mean, those a few years ago, right? The sport's still pretty new. So the NBA has obviously come a long way. Great. I mean, I love the NBA. That game last night with Boston and Miami was fucking insane. That finish was crazy. 0.1 seconds left. Are you kidding me? Terrence tweeted to the Rock. Oh, yeah. I remember this. Yep, I remember it. Yeah, it seemed like they were really high on him before that, didn't it? Crazy Pato? Like, then I don't know, it looks like they're kind of down. I mean, at the same time, they're giving him fights that if he wins in impressive fashion, they're going to push him up. Like the Dober fight. Had Terrence knocked out Dober, he would be on Frivola's trajectory now. Now, remember, if he's knocked Frivola out, now Frivola's stolen that thunder a little bit a few years later. What's the rat race? Could someone scrape it? The rat race? Well, I know it's a movie, but there's like a term called rat race. I can't, I'm not the best guy to explain the rat race, but I know it's a funny movie from like the 2000s. UFC McGregor, Brandel's great car ever for atmosphere. I've heard there was nothing but great. It's crazy, Glenn. Me and James used to we still do the party shot once a month now, but we used to do it weekly. We had Chamakar Sandhu on as our guest for that card. That was like 2014, so like 9 years ago. And Schumacher has obviously gone on to do really good things in the sport. So it was just cool though. Like he was there for that. And like at the time, Schumacher was not really like a known guy. And remember, we're like, oh, this guy was at the event. Let's get him on. And, he's obviously become a pretty big name journalist over the years. Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. Do you think you'll be watching at UFC 436? I intend on watching UFC until the day I die, man. And honestly, like, as you guys, you're going to sound this is going to sound fucked up, but I'm going to tell you this. I always wonder, like, once I'm gone, right? Because we're not going to be here forever. It always worries me, like, there's going to be fighters born after me that I'm dead, and I'm never going to see these guys perform. And like, you might, like, right now, John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time, but like, who's going to be the next John Jones or who's going to be the next GSP? Like, it might not happen until I'm gone. I think I'll be alive at until 436. I also feel like maybe they need to start changing the names of these events too, because it gets too ridiculous at some point, right? You're going to have UFC 1583 in 25 years or something. So yeah, here's a good comment. 236. Okay, let me just try to think of what they are. 236 is Adesanya Gastelum, right? I think that's what it is, right? Let me double check that. Trying to think. It is, yes. And then Poirier Holloway. So I got that one right. 217 was that Ferguson and Lee? Was that what it was? UFC 217? This speaks St. Pierre. Oh, yeah, that's a classic too. Sorry, I was close. I think that was 216 or something. So I was pretty close, or 218. 225 was that the one in Detroit? Was that the one in Detroit? No, it was Whitaker and Romero too. Okay, that was a good card as well. Pretty good card. Actually, that one in Detroit where they had Overeem against Francis, and then you had Gaethje and Alvarez. What was that? UFC 218, I want to say. Yeah, and Holloway all two. Sorry, that's what it was. 218. That card was awesome too. That's one of my other favorites ever. 261. That's Usman and Masvidal, right? I have a pretty good memory for this shit. Yeah, fucking right. So I got 3 out of 4. I mean, just out of top of my head, it's pretty good, guys. I mean, watching the sport for a long time, I can still get the numbers right. So that's pretty good. Are you a Raptors fan? Yeah, of course, I'm a Raptors fan. Was that the celebration, I guess you want to call it, the parade? They call it downtown Toronto. This is 2019. It's been 4 years now, Antoine. Or was it 2020? Yeah, 2019. It was before COVID. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect them to be Golden State, but then I think Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant got injured, and it really changed that whole series. Raptors need a new coach. I don't know who they're going to hire. There's a lot of rumors out there. Like Steve Nash, I heard, was rumored recently. Like, don't know if that's the right coach, but yeah, I mean, I'm a Raptors fan. I just love the sport. I watch a lot of NBA. I watch a lot of basketball. I think the Nuggets will probably win the championship. That'd be my guess. I thought that for a while, actually. I think of this every day, like UFC 1,345. Dude, me and you we're just too into the sport, man. That's why. Like, our brains are like wired for this shit because like normal people don't think like this. Trust me. I was at Dublin card and 194, 996, done 21 UFCs altogether. None came close to the brand out card. So 184 was Aldo and McGregor, yeah, and then 196 was the one we just talked about as well. So it's just crazy. Like, they used to get McGregor fighting like I'm gonna say back-to-back cards, but like 2 cards apart, really 2 pay-per-view cards apart. Get him out there and get Conor to make some money for the company. So he was a real cash cow. It's cool, man. Always rep your team. There are 50 states, only 30 teams. I always tell people grateful to have a team. I love the Hawks. Dude, I mean, I'm in Canada. We have one country, and there's 10 provinces and 3 territories, and we have one team. We used to have 2 teams. We had the Vancouver Grizzlies, and they moved them to Memphis 20 years ago, right? So, yeah, I'm definitely grateful we have a team here, man. Trust me, I definitely get that. Like, we don't have a football team in Canada. We have the CFL here, which I don't really enjoy that much. I mean, I don't think it's like the highest quality. Buffalo Bills are the closest team. That's the team that I've grown up watching. But like, I wish we had a team in Toronto too, like a team in Ontario, like an NFL team. So totally get it, Antoine. You definitely got to appreciate when you have a team. Like, some of these fans, like, they almost take it for granted, especially in the places like California or New York where you have like 5 teams in every league. It's kind of nuts, right? But wanted to bring that up. A couple more. If you guys want to ask a few more questions, I'll take them. I'll get out of here in a minute. But good chat here, guys. Again, appreciate you guys tuning in here on a Sunday. Just have to change the podcast up. I think I'll probably go back to next Monday next week. Pretty sure. Just couldn't do it tomorrow. But that's okay. Any other comments? Hey, what's up, Jagger Jack? You got Alves or Dariush? Let's see the odds on that. Yeah, they do have odds. Minus 120, Dariush, plus 100, Oliveira. It's tough. I mean, obviously, it's tough. I was thinking Dariush for a while, but I just don't want to write off Oliveira because he lost to Islam, right? That's not fair. I mean, like, anyone would lose to Islam. Islam's so fucking good. I don't know. I guess I'd still lean towards Dariush a little bit, but man, this fight should be 5 rounds. Now that I think about it, that should be a 5-rounder. Some of these fights need to be 5 rounds. The co-main events, that should be one. Not every, some of these fight night cards, fights are 5 rounds, like a Derek Lewis Spivak. That fight was never going to go 5. Like, I understand they have to be about the pay-per-view card, but like, they could still do this for 5, in my opinion. So I just wanted to say that. Want to get into the championships? Well, the Atlanta Hawks, didn't they win a championship? St. Louis Hawks, I think. Your team, I guess, your franchise has won years ago, but I'm not. Is that even in the NBA or is that in the ABA or whatever? Let me double check. The Atlanta Hawks. Is that an NBA? Was that count as an NBA championship? I think it does, right? 1950. Yeah, it was 1958 finals. St. Louis Hawks. So it's not Atlanta, but still, it was like the same, franchise. I'm assuming you guys have that hanging in the rafters, right, Antoine, at State Farm Arena. Also, I know you're in Atlanta. Like, I'm obviously Canadian, so I'm a hockey fan. There's rumors that the Atlanta NHL team might come back. I don't know if it'll be the Thrashers again or the Flames, but it won't be the Flames. There's already a Calgary Flames. Thrashers were terrible. I think they would change the name, but there's heavy rumors that the NHL wants to go back to what's it called, to Atlanta. There's heavy rumors, especially because I think TNT has their offices there, right? Their headquarters, and they do the NHL now. who do you think they'll give Gone for Paris? I mean, it's a good question. Like, I mean, Blades would be. I already mentioned him earlier, but like Blades makes sense, right? Because he's coming off that knockout loss, and like it looks like he's a bit of on the decline with the chin, especially. That would be my pick, but because it's 1-4. But man, they just gotta get this Jones and Stipe fight figured out. Because if Stipe's not gonna fight or whatever, I don't know what's going on with this fight. Like, just move on and get Sergey Pavlovich in there. Like, we can't keep waiting. The other fight for Gone, I'm just looking at the rankings. I mean, Spivak, he hasn't fought him yet. If they want to, see if Spivak's any good. I mean, hell, they could give him Jailton Almeida, because if Jailton wins, you literally have new fresh title contender. I don't think they do those fights, but those are options, because Khan's already beaten guys like Volkov and Rosenstruck, right? So like he won't get those matchups, and then you have guys at the bottom like that don't make sense for him anymore. So like Khan's fought a lot of the top guys, and I guess they could do Gone and Pavlovich, but again, you risk Gone winning that fight, and then you kill off that contender in Pav, who just knocked out obviously 6 guys in a row. He set the record, so I don't think they would do that. I meant the UFC, and the Hawks no rings in Atlanta yet. Yeah, for sure. I know people don't like when the UFC has to have a main event title fight, but the brands literally build up Ultimate Fighting Championship, so I feel there should be at least one. For the pay-per-views, it should be, but again, like, if it's a big enough fight, I don't think you need a belt. Like Conor and Nate wasn't in the title fight, and that was a huge fight. Even Gaethje and Poirier. I mean, obviously they're adding the BMF belt, but like that, they don't need that belt to sell that fight because everyone's going to watch it, right? So there's a lot of fights that I think that qualify for main events that aren't title fights, but in general, they prefer to have a title fight on the line. Shailton's a good call if he's getting 51K to show. Yeah. I mean, like, they could potentially do that, because if Jailton goes out there and beats Cyril Gane, like, you're going to have everyone call for a title shot. But again, they have Pav waiting in the wings. There's no real rush right now for Jailton, and he's ranked 9. He's got to move his way up. I think they might give him Jailton the Tai Tuivasa fight, because he called for it, and Ty's the most beatable guy up there, highly ranked, right? So that's the kind of fight they may do. I mean, hell, they could do the rematch between Gane and Ty. That'd be funny. They won't do it, but I'm just saying they could. A couple other comments, guys, and I'll get out of here in a sec. Take a few more comments, questions. Does Hamzat murder Usman? I don't think he murders him, but he is favored to win the fight. Odds for the fight right now: Hamzat Chimaev -155, Usman +135 at DraftKings. So Hamzat's the favorite in that fight. I would obviously lean his way. He's looked outstanding in the UFC overall, but he is in a potentially a new weight class for that fight at 185, but he'd be fighting a welterweight, so it would make a little bit more sense and not be as like tricky of a fight to think about, I guess. Hamzat's already fought 185 anyways, and he's proven himself there. Hamzat's great. I just think, honestly, I feel like, okay, Usman's obviously on the decline, but I also feel like Usman's kind of being underappreciated a little bit as well. One sec. All right, cool. Any other comments, guys? I got to get out of here. But I'll ask you his last couple questions. I'll ask you his last few questions. I'm going to get out of here. Who'd you pick Rose to fight, and who'd you pick Rose to come back and fight? I'm confused. Hold on, one sec. And would you pick Rose to come back and Weili and fight her, or what's your question, Antoine? I'm not sure of the question. Can you rephrase it, please? Sorry, I'm not really understanding that. Do you think the winner of the VMF belt will skip the line and get a title shot against Islam? I don't think they're skipping the line. It's like 2 and 3, right? I don't think they'd be skipping the line personally. You think Suarez comes back as champ? She's still undefeated. I think she has a really good chance. Yeah, I think she has a good chance. What's Khabib up to? He's not coaching, attending fights. I mean, does he have children? I don't know. I don't know if he has I think he's married, isn't he? Like, I have no idea. Like, he's very secretive with his personal life. Maybe he has kids now. I don't know. I have no idea. But he hasn't really been around much, obviously. Antoine, if you want to ask that question again, I'm sorry. I just wasn't sure what you were trying to ask there. Oh, he said, I'm sorry. I meant if Rose came back and got a title shot, would you pick her to beat Weili? Yeah, I would. Yeah, because she's beat her twice. I don't think there'd be a reason to go against her again. I know the second fight was closer, but Rose seems to have a good, stylistic match against Weili for whatever reason. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. It's about 40 minutes, so I'm going to end the podcast now. But I just wanted to say I really appreciate you guys tuning in today. Like, it was awesome, talking about the fights with you a little bit extra. Give you a little bonus content here, guys. But again, if you missed the first podcast today, me and Marcel went over UFC Vegas 74, previewed the entire card, so definitely check that out. And thanks, guys, for joining me today on the rare Sunday podcast here, short notice podcast, very short notice. Appreciate that. Like I said, should be back on Monday, June 5th. That would be the plan for the next one. But in the meantime, hope everyone has an amazing day. Hope everyone's a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.